Hey folks, Mika here from the land not on most world maps again. Each month, we take a look at the games about to be released and make a guess as to what we think might be the best. For March, it almost feels like Halloween may have come early, as there is plenty of monster and horror games to go around. Starting off with the action part of the month, we have Wolong Fallen Dynasty by Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo. Names which I'm sure most people are familiar with. Team Ninja are the creators of Dead or Alive, Ninja Gaiden, and more recently, the Neo series. Koei Tecmo, meanwhile, I know them best for their work on the hack-and-slash Dynasty Warrior games, which I personally love. And wouldn't you know it, Wolong Fallen Dynasty is sort of a fusion of the two companies' previous works. The setting of the game has you take the role of an unknown soldier, a character-created hero or heroine in the fictional Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where, well, three kingdoms and their respective characters are battling to gain complete control of historical China. A setting quite extensively used in the Dynasty Warriors series, you see. Though this one seems even more sensationalized as you have mythical beasts and monsters roaming the land. The actual combat and mechanics of the game seem to take inspiration more from Team Ninja's Neo series though. You have a variety of weapons, 16 I believe, magical wizardry, and even spirit guardians to accompany you. Interestingly, despite the Souls-like genre, your actions are not tied to stamina at all. It's actually completely free. Instead, you have here what seems like a Sekiro-like posture bar, which can both fall into a negative orange color and a positive blue one. It falls into the negative when you dodge and block, eventually staggering when you go fully negative. It becomes positive when you're on the offense, when you attack and parry an enemy. The bar itself also is kinda your MP or resource bar for special martial attacks and magic, thus the game as a whole encourages you to be very aggressive. Souls-likes are always an experience though, and that's why this is on our list. The game is set to release tomorrow, but there is a demo if you're on the fence. But hey, if you're liking what you hear, then you might want to pick up Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Jumping away from mythical beasts, but still with Team Koei Tecmo, we arrive at a title more focused on horror with Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Based more on Japanese or Asian horror tropes, this game has you explore an abandoned sanitarium. The main character and her friends were originally rescued from this place, though at the start of the game they seem to have lost their memories of it. But when two of the survivors die and the remaining two disappear while investigating the place, it's up to main character Ruka Minazuki to venture into this place to figure things out. This was originally released on the Wii, and I remember being quite disappointed I never got to play it. You see, out of all the Silent Hills, the Resident Evils, You're Alone in the Darks, Hell Knights, and Clock Towers, this was the only series which actually made me put down my controller. And the funny thing is, it wasn't even because of a ghost or a monster and the like. The game managed to just completely overwhelm me with the atmosphere itself. There was absolutely nothing else there, but it just had this heavy sense of dread and oppression. I just had to put down the controller, switch on the lights, and take a quick breather. Now that wasn't the second game of the series, and the series itself has kind of fallen out of favor in more recent times, but I'm hoping Mask of the Lunar Eclipse can present a similar experience to the earlier titles. Like other horror games, much of the gameplay revolves around exploring a location and figuring out how to go forward through finding items and completing puzzles. Unique to the Fatal Frame series, however, is that you have to stare down the spirits and ghosts you encounter through a camera. You essentially have to keep the ghosts in view and snap them out of existence, with the game favoring taking shots right before they pounce on you. The remaster comes with improved graphics, though in this day and age I wouldn't call it anything to write home about. The improved controls and sound design seem a bit more favorable, because apparently the original was kinda clunky, being a Wii game, and the title itself relies heavily on the use of music, so that's all good. Oh, and it also comes with its own set of weird costumes and the like. Not a fan on my end, but hey, it might serve to lighten the mood for some of you. Honestly, there's a part of me that's kind of wondering if this is just another lazy remaster, but considering they're trying to address the original concerns the game had, maybe it's worth a buy for a terrifying, if not entertaining time in Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Still continuing on the horror track, we make things even more up close and personal with the Switchback VR. I mention this a lot, but I love VR titles, and one of those titles is Until Dawn Rush of Blood by Supermassive Games, the same devs making Switchback VR. In many ways, Switchback VR is a successor of sorts to that title. Like before, you're put onto a roller coaster and have to go through various horror settings in an on-rails shooting sequence. The setting itself is different though, as what you're essentially experiencing is a sort of nightmare hallucination after being part of a train crash. And in that setting, you're accompanied by a demon who is effectively trying to entice you to your death by putting you through various horrors. The game comes with all the bells and whistles of the new PSVR 2 tech. You're gonna feel it when a creature suddenly reaches for you off screen, through your controllers. And even the headset will rumble when you say unfortunately fail to dodge very creepy little hands jutting from the ceiling. You'll also come across certain rooms where nothing is moving. Here, the game tracks your eye movement. Blinking in these rooms causes the inhabitants to move towards you and eventually overrun you. Very cool. You're not without your defenses though, as this game has even more varieties of weapons and armaments than before. I have very fond memories of the original, of Until Dawn Rush of Blood. I had this one friend who never got past the title screen. A lightning flash at the beginning in VR had him immediately nope out of there. Likewise, my younger sibling, while looking around again in the title menu, turned left and suddenly saw a zombie really up close and screamed enough for the neighbors to come check on us. Even apart from that, the original delivered in its presentation and gameplay, so I'm hoping I'll get the same amount of laughs, the same amount of action, and the same amount of horror in Switchback VR. Of course, a month of horror is not complete with perhaps the fabled king of horror franchises making an appearance with Resident Evil 4 Remake. I must admit Capcom has been on a roll with this franchise. Both the remakes and the newer games have been really good. RE4 Remake might be a bit more on the contentious side though. A lot of people consider this as sort of the apex of the franchise, like it swept the competition and the industry away on its original release. So to say that the remake has some very big shoes to fill feels like a bit of an understatement. Things are looking good though, as the newest trailer seems to have won over quite a bit of the crowd. The updated graphics feel on par with the other remade games, and Capcom has largely mentioned that they will retain the original storyline with perhaps a few adjustments. Main character Leon Kennedy has also received an overhaul of his controls, with the game now allowing you more leeway to sneak through areas compared to before. You can also use kicks and parries, among other things, all to complete Leon's mission to find the president's daughter who disappeared in this area. On the enemy side, the AI has also received a bit of an overhaul, as the Ganados can now apparently come up with more strategies to overcome you. Though, don't quote me on that until we've seen it. I've been on a bit of a Resident Evil binge lately, going through RE2 and RE3 as well as RE7. Well, you can bet I'm waiting on my VR headset for RE8. With the franchise firing on all cylinders and what we've seen looking pretty decent, here's hoping Resident Evil 4 Remake can defend its crown. Speaking of firing on all cylinders, The Last of Us Part 1 by Naughty Dog is finally making its debut on PC. The TV series has been receiving critical acclaim, for a lack of a better word, and now PC players can finally enjoy the game itself. Honestly, normally when we receive a PC port, I try to dig up what new features and options we'd get from the port, but in this case I actually have very little idea of what we're getting extra here. All I can tell you is that it's essentially the same set of features on the PS5 remake, but take that with a grain of salt. The PS5 remake was actually quite poorly received because of its price, and it really wasn't too long since they made the PS4 remake then. This time around, however, the prices are slightly lower at $60 on Steam anyways. It might also surprise a lot of you out there to know that most of us on the Emmen gaming team, including myself, aren't exactly too enamored with The Last of Us. Its story and art direction is excellent, mind you, but we didn't find the gameplay and combat as enjoyable as most other people. So the question is, why is it on our list? Well, simply because it's a pretty popular game. Okay, bit of a story time tangent here. After getting my brand new PS5 shiny console, I essentially put my older PS4 in the living room. To my immense surprise, my siblings actually started using it. They're largely disconnected from gaming, you see. In fact, the binge Resident Evil I mentioned before was more them playing than me. And you know what game they requested to get after going through all that? Yeah, that's right. It was The Last of Us. I think for many of us, gaming is largely a personal hobby. We tend to do it on our own time with people who we cannot see. But even if couch co-op is essentially dead these days, couch gaming is not. And there's a certain joy in sharing your hobby with people you can see. Like seeing them get to grips with gameplay or get cross with characters or even just scream at the sudden movement of a ball in a horror game. I mean, we're called Emmen Gaming here, and that essentially translates to gaming with everyone in the Maldivian language. While I find it hard to say that the PC version is best enjoyed this way, you cannot deny that this does give you an avenue to share your gaming hobby. With the popularity of the TV series, which has piqued the interest of many, we recommend The Last of Us. But hey, March has its fair share of titles other than monster and horror action. We just noticed that a fair few we like and possibly will enjoy fall into this category this month. Maybe you'd rather just go action with Wolong. Or maybe you don't agree what we said about The Last of Us being best shared. Give us a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And while you're at it, give us a like and subscribe too. Here's Mika from the land not on most world maps, signing off.